Hello, thank you for joining us. My name is Alice Owens. I am a part of the Tennessee Disability Coalition, Businesses for the Better. And our purpose for being here is to share information we think will be beneficial on your journey of becoming more inclusive when considering hiring individuals with disabilities. Again, we thank you for including us. We are going to show you a feature interview. We think that it will be beneficial to see how another business made it work and did it well. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
Gresham Smith is a full-service architecture and engineering firm based here in Nashville. We have 25 offices across the country. Our purpose is to plan, design, and consult to create healthy and thriving communities.
I got involved with the well-being here because I wanted the sense of community. I, for the longest time, pre-diagnosis, felt like I was the only one at Gresham for some reason that was struggling. So joining the well-being ERN was like a huge opportunity for me, I think, to have that sense of community.
This ERN has allowed me for the first time in a workplace to be able to talk about neurodiversity and my own sensory needs.
It's really inspiring to hear someone say, me too, or I really needed to hear that, or I've been Googling for months and I learned more in that one meeting than I have in the past 2 years. The Wellbeing ERN is the Employee Resource Network here at Gresham Smith. It is a place for employees to gather and seek resources and advice and share their stories, and really a place for them to be heard and be seen.
Our ERN members vary from people who identify as having physical disabilities or impairments, mental health issues, mental illnesses, or are neurodiverse, people whose family members might fall into one of those categories, or people who just want to be better allies.
When Charlotte first brought the idea of the well-being ERN to me, it really struck home. We had been having a lot of conversations about mental health and well-being. There's a stigma around mental health as well as physical disabilities, and really being able to have an opportunity to bring those conversations to a group of like-minded individuals really makes it a safe space for our people to share.
I would tell other employees interested in implementing an ERN similar to ours is just to do it. This is an employee-based, employee-led ERN, and so you do want to make sure you have a group of people who is interested, have a passion, desire, and to lead.
At Gresham Smith, our approach to hiring individuals with disabilities starts from the time they go on our website and look at our career page. And then once they are an employee of Gresham Smith, we continue with really ensuring that they feel included and reaching out within their first few weeks to conduct what we call an ergonomics assessment. But what that does during that time is if they need any accommodations for how their workspace is set up or in how they access the office, then we're able to accommodate them through that process.
One of the big things that we're trying to do is give people the vocabulary to be able to make those requests and to educate supervisors about what is available and how to go about filling in accommodations requests.
If you're thinking of starting an employee resource network or a similar program, just do it. You're going to learn new things and make mistakes and stumble. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know everything, but just know it's worth it.
We are back. I hope you were encouraged and inspired by the story to take the leap yourself. First, I'd like to dispel with some myths that individuals have concerning hiring individuals with disabilities, or even relating to those individuals who may already be present in your work pool who have disabilities. So, individuals with disabilities perform their jobs just as well as other workers. They aren't absent as much. They don't have as high a turnover rate. They work more safely, so workers' compensation costs are lower. They have substantially fewer accidents. One might ask, how does she even know this information? Well, one resource that we use or have used in the past and still refer to him in many instances, such as this one, is Randy Lewis. Randy Lewis is a retired Walgreens senior vice president. He is well respected and sought after to share information about his experience in beginning a work pool consisting of many individuals with disabilities of varying types. He was one of the pioneers for inclusion of individuals with disabilities, and he has dispelled many of the myths with evidence-based information after building an entire workforce of individuals at Walgreens. There are many qualified candidates with disabilities. The only difference is that workers with disabilities might do things differently. Employees with disabilities require nothing more than the same consideration an employer may already be providing to its non-disabled employees, such as flexible work schedules. Let's dispel with some additional myths. A survey conducted by the Job Accommodation Network, or JAN for short. They found that more than half of U.S. employers surveyed had zero accommodation cost, and the rest incurred a one-time expense of approximately $500 to accommodate an employee with a disability. According to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or the EEOC for short, an employee with a disability must meet the same production standards, whether it be quantitative or qualitative, as an employee without a disability in the same job. That's important information. One might think, okay, I'm willing to be inclusive in my workforce, but do I have to hire someone less qualified than another person or someone with a disability who might be less qualified than someone without a disability? The answer is no. That individual with a disability must be able to perform that job just as someone without a disability. The only difference is they may need to do it differently, or they may need an accommodation. Studies provided by the National Business and Disability Council have reported people with disabilities have fewer scheduled absences than those with disabilities, and fewer days of unscheduled absences. So that reinforces what Randy Lewis reported about less absences. Disabled employees should be treated the same as able-bodied employees with respect and dignity, as well as given opportunities for advancement and coaching when required, just as you might do with any other employee. So now, what are the first steps? Normalize having an integrated team. What does that look like? Don't make it a big deal that your workforce is integrated or that your workforce is diverse. Communicate the company's commitment to inclusion of workers with disabilities. For example, incorporating a statement in policy, publications, and hiring materials. Establish a team of employees with disabilities to support and advance the recruiting, hiring, retention, and advancement of people with disabilities. Take affirmative steps to recruit, hire, retain, and advance workers with disabilities. Encourage employees with disabilities and others to identify barriers without fear and offer mechanisms to allow them to provide this information confidently and anonymously. Oftentimes, people will not come forward, especially with invisible disabilities. So it is absolutely necessary that they feel comfortable sharing barriers that exist in the workforce. That is a win-win for them and for an employer. Offer workplace flexibility and accommodations for all applicants and employees, including the use of telework options, if appropriate. Now, you may ask, how do I attract candidates with disabilities? Again, communicate your commitment to inclusion across all your recruitment materials and social media. Assess your workplace to ensure its doors, including virtual doors, are open to all applicants. Don't make assumptions that your recruitment materials are accessible to all individuals. Test it. Make sure that that is the case. Take proactive steps to source qualified candidates with disabilities. Who can assist with hiring? If you are searching for candidates who have college degrees and specialized education, partner with the obvious groups, colleges and universities. Most colleges and universities have departments now that are in place to assist individuals with disabilities to perform well on the campus or in the campus environment. And they are also in place to assist with employment and hiring opportunities for those that they serve. According to the National Organization on Disability, companies who completed their disability employment tracker reported using on-campus disability recruiting, with 32% hired through that source. There are many organizations in place for this purpose. One such organization is the Workforce Development System. They assist individuals with disabilities with re-entering or entering the workforce. They perform many services for those individuals, such as resume writing, interview preparation, soft skills, actually connecting individuals with potential employers, and job shadowing. The State Vocational Rehabilitation, VR, is in place to assist candidates with disabilities with a wide range of skills and training. That includes connecting individuals with potential employers, but prior to doing so, they offer training, even education, sometimes college education, to prepare an individual to enter the workforce. Voc Rehab will also assist with providing devices needed on the job site. The community rehabilitation providers can help with your hiring needs as well. Some serve targeted local areas, while others have state or national programs, such as Best Buddies International. The Social Security Administration finances employment networks, and employment networks are organizations in place to assist individuals in preparation for employment in various ways. They also offer resume writing, they offer soft skills training, and various other services to assist with that transition back into the workforce. The Individualized Placement and Support Organization or agencies assist individuals with mental illness, and they are an evidence-based model of supported employment. Let's look at the hiring process. Identify people who have the skill sets and attributes that make them the best candidate for your job, no matter what, whether they're an individual with a disability or not. Ensure that all qualified applicants, including those with disabilities, have equal access in all aspects of your hiring process. Be familiar with the applicable laws and regulations, such as the ADA, or Americans with Disabilities Act, the Rehabilitation Act, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, and we'll talk about these a little later on. During the hiring process, explore how work-based learning opportunities like internships can help you build a diverse pipeline of talent. Solicit feedback from other businesses and business owners on their experience in hiring individuals with disabilities. Get feedback from them, get suggestions from them. Share your ideas about what you intend to put in place during this process. So as promised, let's look at the applicable laws and regulations. The ADA protects the civil rights of individuals who, one, have a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. Two, they have a record of such an impairment. Or three, are regarded as having such an impairment. What are those major life activities? They include walking, seeing, hearing, speaking, breathing, etc., etc. The Americans with Disability Act of 1990 is civil rights legislature that aims to increase the inclusion of people with disabilities in all aspects of community life, including employment. The ADA prevents discrimination based on disability for private employers and state and local government employers with 15 or more employees. The Americans with Disability Act Amendment of 2008 clarified the definition of disability was meant to be interpreted broadly. At the heart of the ADA's employment provisions is the concept of reasonable accommodations. A reasonable accommodation is considered any modification to the work environment or the way a job is done that enables someone with a disability to apply for or perform a job. The ADA also restricts what employers may and may not ask during the recruiting and application process and the use of pre-employment screenings. Important components of the ADA to consider during the hiring process also include refraining from asking questions related to a person's disability and medical inquiries. So if an individual comes into your interview and they come in a wheelchair and they come in with the intention of applying for a position, which you may pause and wonder how they will perform that role utilizing a wheelchair. You are able to ask that individual how they propose to perform the responsibilities of that job. But you cannot ask them specifically about their impairment. For example, tell me about your injuries. When did they occur? How do you feel about being a chair user? Questions you might ask in a social setting that you cannot ask in an interview setting. The Rehabilitation Act of 1973 includes several sections that impact hiring people with disabilities. Section 504 prohibits discrimination against people with disabilities by any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. What does that mean? Are you receiving federal financial assistance? If you are not, this section will not apply to you. Section 508 is another section of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. It covers information and communications technology. It requires information and communications technology to be accessible to people with disabilities, including job applicants. While Section 508 only applies to federal agencies, many private employers have adapted its standard as a way to ensure their technology is in fact accessible. We're continuing with applicable laws and regulations. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act was enacted in 2014 to address the challenges facing the U.S. workforce, including shortages in the numbers of workers with post-secondary education and the lack of workforce participation by individuals with disabilities. WIOLA, as we fondly call it, supports employment of people with disabilities by funding efforts by the state VR agencies to assist employers in providing employment and work-based learning opportunities, including internships, to help individuals with disabilities succeed in the workforce. The Tennessee Disability Act is the final law that we will talk about. It reads, "There shall be no discrimination in hiring, firing, or other terms and conditions of employment of the state of Tennessee or any department, agency, institution, or political subdivision of the state, or of any private employer against any applicant for employment based solely upon any physical, mental, or visual disability of the applicant, unless such disability to some degree prevents the applicant from performing the duties required by the employment sought or impairs the performance of the work involved. Furthermore, no blind person shall be discriminated against in any such employment practices because such person uses a guide dog." Forgive me for reading this because you can read it for yourself, but sometimes I think it's important to read the information so it can be absorbed by people who learn information differently, like myself. Let's talk about the financial incentives for employing individuals with disabilities. This sometimes is very attractive information to employers who are interested in becoming more diversified, stepping out and integrating their workforce. These financial incentives can be encouraging in that process. Federal and state governments offer financial incentives to increase employment of people with disabilities. The Work Opportunity Tax Credit is a federal tax credit available to employers for hiring candidates from certain target groups who have consistently faced significant barriers to employment. These include vocational rehabilitation referred individuals, supplemental security income recipients, qualified veterans, including disabled veterans, any private business that hires from an eligible target group may apply for WOTC. You can find out more information at the link below. So let's conclude by keeping in mind the benefits of diversity. And these are benefits that have been proven by many resources and many companies who have decided to hire individuals with disabilities. Increased productivity, improved creativity, increased profits, improved employee engagement, reduced employee turnover, improved company reputation, wider range of skills, improve cultural insight. And I think that these items are self-explanatory. How inclusion in the workplace functions. It is not necessary for everyone to like each other. Example, having lunch together on weekends. Having an inclusive workplace is no different from not having an inclusive workplace. Resolve to working as a team with the mutual respect of each other's differences. Individuals learn to communicate professionally and get along so business goals can be accomplished, just as they would with any other coworker. Ensure your organization's onboarding processes are accessible and inclusive for employees with disabilities. Build a foundation for an inclusive environment from day one. There have been many employment models over the years, but we end with the preferred one, which is competitive, integrated employment. Individuals with disabilities function just like other employees. I'll say it again. Individuals with disabilities function just like other employees, doing the same work and being paid the same wages. Remember, they may only do it differently. I end with a quote from Randy Lewis. Charity support is the way businesses most often try to connect. Charity is a good start, but it isn't a game changer. Charity wasn't what people like my son really needed. They needed jobs. There is no them, just us. Thank you for this opportunity to share information. If you have any questions or need assistance of any type, you may contact us at 615-318-9442. You can also locate our website at tndisability.org/Tennessee-businesses-better. Thank you for your time and this opportunity to share information.